Hello and welcome. Today, we are going to embark on an exciting journey, a journey to learn how to think like a genius while improving your English. Many learners focus solely on memorizing vocabulary and grammar, but the key to mastery lies in cultivating the mind itself. This story is about combining English learning with the development of critical thinking, creativity, and problem solving, the qualities that define genius-level thinking. In this story, you'll follow Leo, a curious and ambitious learner who discovered that thinking like a genius is not about innate talent but about approach, strategy, and mindset. Leo realized that by observing patterns, asking deep questions, experimenting creatively, and reflecting critically, he could solve problems more effectively and communicate ideas more clearly, all while boosting his English skills. Throughout the story, you'll see Leo practice techniques that encourage mental flexibility, visualizing problems, connecting ideas, breaking down complex concepts, and expressing them clearly in English. You'll learn how to think critically, form unique insights, and communicate those insights fluently, which strengthens both language and cognitive skills. By the end of the story, you'll understand that improving English isn't just about knowing words, it's about thinking, reasoning, and communicating with precision and creativity. Leo's journey demonstrates that anyone can cultivate genius-like thinking by adopting the right mindset and practices, and in doing so, significantly enhance their English fluency. This story is both practical and inspiring. It's designed to show how developing your mind while using English actively can lead to sharper thinking, deeper understanding, and more confident communication. Welcome to a journey where language and genius thinking intersect, transforming the way you learn, think, and express yourself. After deciding to think like a genius, Leo realized that observation was the first essential step. He noticed that geniuses rarely accepted things at face value. They questioned, analyzed, and explored details that others often overlooked. Leo began applying this approach to both his English learning and his understanding of the world. He started by observing daily life carefully. While walking through the city, he noticed patterns in human behavior, interactions, and the environment. He described these observations aloud in English. The old man feeds the pigeons every morning. Or, the traffic lights change too quickly for pedestrians. This simple practice helped him combine English practice with critical thinking, reinforcing vocabulary and sentence structures while training his analytical mind. Leo also examined books, articles, and media more critically. Instead of passively reading, he asked questions. Why did the author choose this word? What assumptions are being made? How could this idea be explained differently? Writing or speaking his reflections in English strengthened both comprehension and expression. He realized that observing with purpose trains the mind to notice details, think logically, and articulate insights clearly. Another technique Leo used was mental mapping. For every observation, he created connections to other ideas. Seeing someone helping a stranger might trigger thoughts on kindness, ethics, and social dynamics. He practiced explaining these connections in English. Helping others creates a sense of community and trust. Or, small acts of kindness can influence society in meaningful ways. These exercises developed his ability to form structured, thoughtful statements in English. Leo learned to be patient and curious. Observation wasn't about rushing to conclusions but about gathering information and seeing patterns. He kept a small notebook where he recorded interesting observations, unusual phrases, and vocabulary from everyday life. Reviewing this notebook daily reinforced memory, enhanced language usage, and trained his mind to look for meaningful details. By combining observation with reflection and English expression, Leo created a powerful feedback loop. Noticing details sharpened his mind, and articulating them in English improved fluency and precision. He understood that geniuses see the world deeply, not superficially, and by practicing this skill, he could enhance both his thinking and his language. By the end of this stage, Leo's mind was more attentive, analytical, and curious. Every interaction, sight, and experience became a source of learning, ready to be expressed thoughtfully in English. Observation had become the foundation for his journey toward genius-level thinking and advanced language skills. Building on his keen powers of observation, Leo realized that geniuses are distinguished by their relentless curiosity and ability to ask meaningful questions. Observation alone was not enough. He needed to probe deeper, challenge assumptions, and examine causes and consequences. This stage of his journey combined critical thinking with English practice, helping him form clear, logical, and insightful expressions. Leo began by questioning everything he encountered. While reading articles or listening to podcasts, he asked, "Why does this happen? What is the underlying principle? Could there be another explanation?" He then tried to articulate these questions and his tentative answers in English, speaking aloud or writing them in a journal. Why do people follow trends without questioning them? Or, perhaps cultural traditions influence behavior more than personal choice. This exercise expanded his vocabulary while sharpening his analytical mind. He also practiced breaking down complex ideas into smaller components. For example, when reading about climate change, Leo would identify causes, effects, and solutions separately, then explain them in English. Industrial pollution increases greenhouse gases, which lead to global warming, affecting weather patterns and ecosystems. By structuring his thoughts logically, he improved both comprehension and the ability to communicate sophisticated ideas fluently. Another technique Leo used was considering multiple perspectives. Whenever he formed an opinion, he asked, "How might someone with a different background view this? How would a scientist, historian, or philosopher interpret it?" He would articulate these perspectives in English, comparing and contrasting them. From an economic perspective, this policy seems efficient, but socially it may cause inequality. This practice trained his mind to think broadly and communicate nuanced ideas naturally. Leo also applied the Socratic method, a practice of continuous questioning, to his own thoughts. If he made a statement, he immediately asked, "Why is this true? How can I prove it? Are there exceptions?" By doing so in English, he enhanced his ability to reason and express complex arguments clearly, while simultaneously expanding vocabulary and sentence structures. Critical thinking exercises became part of Leo's daily routine. He debated topics aloud with himself, discussed ideas with friends in English, and reflected on decisions and outcomes. Over time, forming logical, coherent, and thoughtful statements became instinctive, both in his mind and speech. By the end of this stage, Leo had learned that asking questions and thinking critically was a gateway to deeper understanding. Coupled with English practice, these skills allowed him to analyze, evaluate, and communicate ideas effectively, laying a strong foundation for genius-level thinking and fluent expression. Having mastered observation and critical questioning, Leo realized that geniuses excel not only in analyzing but also in connecting ideas creatively. Patterns, analogies, and unexpected associations often lead to breakthroughs. Leo decided to train his mind to see relationships between seemingly unrelated concepts while expressing these connections in English. He began by keeping a connection journal. Each day, he noted 2 or 3 unrelated observations or ideas and brainstormed possible links between them. For example, he might connect the behavior of ants in a colony to teamwork in human organizations, then describe the analogy in English. Ants cooperate efficiently, each performing specific roles, just as humans succeed when tasks are divided thoughtfully. Writing and speaking these connections helped him develop both cognitive flexibility and language fluency. Leo also practiced metaphorical thinking. He compared abstract ideas with tangible experiences to deepen understanding and communicate more vividly. For instance, when thinking about persistence, he said, "Persistence is like water carving through stone, slow but unstoppable." Using metaphors in English expanded his expressive range and made his communication more compelling. Another technique was mind mapping. Leo would take a central concept, such as innovation, and branch out ideas, examples, and related vocabulary. He would then describe the map aloud in English. Innovation can be technological, artistic, or social. Technology creates tools, art inspires emotions, and social innovation changes communities. This exercise strengthened his ability to organize thoughts, draw connections, and speak clearly under complex cognitive load. Leo also explored interdisciplinary thinking. He connected ideas across fields: science, history, art, and literature. For example, he might relate patterns in nature to architectural design or link historical events to modern societal trends. Explaining these connections in English allowed him to practice vocabulary from multiple domains and express sophisticated ideas naturally. Creativity exercises extended into problem solving. When faced with challenges, Leo deliberately considered unconventional approaches and imagined alternative solutions. Speaking his ideas aloud in English forced him to articulate reasoning clearly, reinforcing both creativity and fluency. Instead of following the standard process, we could try reversing the steps to see new outcomes. By the end of this stage, Leo's mind had become more agile and inventive. He could generate novel ideas, see patterns others missed, and express these insights clearly in English. Creative connection of ideas not only enhanced his genius-level thinking but also enriched his ability to communicate fluently and persuasively. As Leo explored creativity and idea connections, he realized that even the brightest insights are limited without focus and mental discipline. Geniuses are not only curious and inventive, they can direct attention effectively, sustain concentration, and work persistently toward understanding and solving problems. Leo decided to strengthen these habits while practicing English simultaneously. He started by setting clear goals for each learning session. Instead of vaguely improving English, he defined specific objectives: reading an article and summarizing it, practicing 10 new words and sentences, or explaining a concept aloud. This structure kept his mind engaged, reducing distractions and increasing productivity. Speaking summaries in English reinforced comprehension, vocabulary, and coherent expression. Leo also practiced mindfulness and attention exercises. He would spend 5 minutes focusing solely on his breath or the sounds around him before reading, writing, or thinking. This simple habit heightened awareness and prepared his mind for deeper analytical thinking. When applied to English practice, mindfulness helped him notice subtle linguistic details, intonation, pronunciation, grammar, and nuances in meaning. He developed a routine for tackling complex problems. When faced with a challenging article, concept, or creative task, Leo broke it into smaller parts, concentrated on one piece at a time, and explained it in English. For example, while studying a physics principle, he would say, "First, I understand the law of motion. Next, I analyze its real-world applications. Finally, I can describe it clearly in English." This step-by-step focus strengthened both problem-solving and language use. Another strategy was limiting multitasking. Leo realized that switching between tasks reduced efficiency and learning retention. During English practice, he dedicated uninterrupted blocks for reading, speaking, or writing. This sustained attention allowed him to internalize vocabulary, structure sentences thoughtfully, and engage deeply with concepts. He also used reflection to enhance discipline. At the end of each day, Leo reviewed what he learned, identified gaps in understanding, and planned improvements for tomorrow. Speaking or writing these reflections in English further reinforced fluency while strengthening critical thinking and self-awareness. By training focus, patience, and sustained effort, Leo noticed a significant improvement in both cognitive and language abilities. Complex ideas became easier to grasp, creative connections more apparent, and verbal expression more precise. Mental discipline became the backbone of his genius-like thinking, enabling him to explore ideas deeply, solve problems efficiently, and communicate fluently in English. As Leo's skills developed, he understood that genius-level thinking isn't about avoiding mistakes, it's about learning from them. Every error, misjudgment, or miscommunication is an opportunity to gain insight, refine strategies, and improve both thinking and language skills. Leo began by reframing mistakes as essential data rather than failures. When he mispronounced a word or used incorrect grammar in English, he analyzed why it happened. Was it a lack of vocabulary, unfamiliar sentence structure, or simply a lapse in attention? By identifying the root cause, he could address the issue systematically. For instance, if he said, "He go to school," he would note that he needed to focus on verb conjugation rules, then practiced similar sentences until it became automatic. Feedback became a crucial tool. Leo sought input from teachers, mentors, and peers. He welcomed corrections, explanations, and alternative ways to phrase ideas. Speaking aloud, he would try new sentences, listen to feedback, and immediately apply corrections. Over time, this cycle of trial, feedback, and adjustment strengthened both cognitive reasoning and language fluency. He also applied self-reflection after problem-solving tasks. If a solution didn't work as intended, Leo would ask, "Why did it fail? What could I do differently? How does this connect to other knowledge?" Explaining these reflections in English reinforced clarity of thought and expanded expressive vocabulary. Statements like, "I realized my assumption was incomplete, so I need to consider additional variables," became natural in his spoken and written English. Leo practiced iterative learning in all areas. Writing essays, solving puzzles, or discussing abstract concepts, he treated each attempt as a draft. Mistakes guided his revisions, gradually creating polished and coherent expressions in English. This method nurtured resilience, adaptability, and creative problem-solving. Moreover, he learned to anticipate potential errors. By analyzing past mistakes, Leo could foresee challenges and prepare strategies in advance. This proactive approach improved efficiency and allowed him to communicate more accurately and confidently. For example, before a debate, he reviewed common counterarguments and practiced articulating responses in English, reducing hesitation and errors. By embracing mistakes and seeking feedback, Leo developed a growth-oriented mindset. He realized that genius thinking thrives on continuous improvement, experimentation, and reflection. Combined with active English practice, this mindset made his communication more precise, adaptable, and confident. Leo soon discovered that geniuses often draw insights from multiple fields. They don't limit themselves to one area of expertise but explore diverse subjects, connecting knowledge in innovative ways. To think like a genius, Leo decided to expand his understanding across disciplines while using English to articulate his insights. He began reading widely: science, history, literature, philosophy, and art. Each subject provided unique perspectives and vocabulary. For example, studying physics introduced terms like momentum and force, while history offered concepts like revolution and social reform. Leo practiced explaining these ideas in English. The momentum of social movements depends on both leadership and public support. This approach strengthened his conceptual understanding and enriched his linguistic expression. Leo also looked for patterns and analogies between disciplines. Observing how ecosystems functioned in nature, he drew comparisons to organizational management or social networks. Describing these analogies in English forced him to choose precise words, clarify reasoning, and practice abstract thinking. Just as ecosystems maintain balance through interdependent species, successful organizations thrive when all members collaborate efficiently. He engaged with problem-solving exercises that combine knowledge from multiple fields. For instance, he tackled a design challenge by incorporating principles from geometry, psychology, and cultural studies. Speaking his thought process aloud in English helped him articulate reasoning clearly and reinforced cross-disciplinary thinking. Interdisciplinary learning also expanded Leo's creativity. Ideas from one domain inspired solutions in another. Reading a novel about human behavior might suggest strategies for negotiation, while studying architecture could influence his approach to project planning. Expressing these insights in English required active vocabulary usage, sentence structuring, and logical flow, enhancing both cognition and fluency. Leo complemented reading with interactive experiences. He attended lectures, workshops, and discussions across various fields, taking notes and summarizing ideas in English. These active engagements forced him to process information quickly, connect concepts, and communicate effectively, all of which mirrored the thought patterns of innovative thinkers. By integrating knowledge across disciplines, Leo's mind became more versatile and insightful. He could approach problems from multiple angles, make unexpected connections, and communicate complex ideas clearly in English. Interdisciplinary exploration not only fueled genius-level thinking but also enriched his language skills, preparing him for sophisticated conversation and expression. As Leo's understanding expanded, he realized that geniuses rely on mental models and frameworks, tools that help simplify complexity, predict outcomes, and solve problems efficiently. Developing these cognitive structures became a key part of his journey, and he integrated English practice to explain, analyze, and internalize them. Leo started by learning common mental models from various domains: cause and effect reasoning, probabilistic thinking, first principles, opportunity cost, feedback loops, and more. He studied examples and then applied the models to everyday situations, articulating his reasoning in English. For instance, analyzing a decision using first principles, he would say aloud, "If I break this problem into fundamental truths, I see that the solution doesn't depend on assumptions but on core facts." He practiced applying mental models in conversations and written reflections. When discussing a news article or a scientific discovery, Leo would frame his analysis using relevant models. Using the feedback loop model, the policy may have unintended consequences that reinforce the problem over time. Speaking in English reinforced both critical thinking and vocabulary related to abstract concepts. Leo also created personalized frameworks for recurring challenges. For example, he developed a step-by-step approach for solving complex tasks: identify the problem, gather data, analyze patterns, generate solutions, and evaluate outcomes. He practiced describing this method in English. First, I define the challenge clearly. Next, I gather all necessary information before brainstorming possible solutions. Over time, these frameworks became intuitive, guiding both thought and expression. Another technique was analogical reasoning. Leo compared unfamiliar problems to familiar situations using mental models. Managing a team is like conducting an orchestra. Each member contributes unique skills, and coordination ensures harmony. Explaining analogies in English strengthened his ability to think abstractly and communicate ideas compellingly. He also reviewed and reflected on the effectiveness of his models. After each application, Leo evaluated what worked, what didn't, and how the model could be refined. Speaking or writing these reflections in English reinforced clarity of thought, deepened understanding, and enriched language skills. By practicing mental models and frameworks, Leo learned to approach challenges systematically, anticipate consequences, and generate innovative solutions. Combining these strategies with English expression allowed him to articulate complex ideas with precision and confidence, cultivating both genius-level thinking and advanced fluency. Leo realized that genius-level thinking doesn't occur in isolation. Collaboration with others provides new perspectives, challenges assumptions, and sparks creative solutions. Engaging with peers, mentors, and experts became a vital part of his journey, and using English as the medium of communication strengthened both his cognitive and language skills. He began participating in discussion groups, workshops, and online communities. In these environments, he asked questions, presented ideas, and debated perspectives. Speaking in English forced him to articulate his thoughts clearly, respond quickly, and consider counterarguments thoughtfully. He noticed that interacting with diverse minds exposed him to approaches and solutions he hadn't considered, broadening his intellectual toolkit. Leo also learned to give and receive constructive feedback. When sharing ideas, he welcomed critiques and alternative viewpoints. Explaining complex concepts in English and refining them based on feedback honed both his thinking and linguistic abilities. He practiced summarizing suggestions and integrating them into his reasoning. Based on your feedback, I realized that my assumption was incomplete, so I need to consider this additional factor. Collaborative problem-solving exercises became central to his development. Working with others on projects or case studies, Leo applied mental models, interdisciplinary knowledge, and creative connections in real time. Discussing strategies in English improved fluency while teaching him to structure thoughts logically under dynamic conditions. He also observed and learned from the thinking patterns of others. By analyzing how peers approach challenges, Leo identified strategies that complemented his own. For example, some colleagues excelled in divergent thinking, generating many options, while others focused on convergent thinking, refining the best solutions. He incorporated these approaches into his own thinking and practiced explaining the differences in English. Divergent thinking expands possibilities, while convergent thinking narrows them to the most practical option. Through collaboration, Leo learned that genius thinking is amplified by diversity of thought. Engaging actively with others in English strengthened his ability to articulate, defend, and refine ideas while absorbing new strategies. He understood that learning from others not only accelerates intellectual growth but also cultivates fluency, confidence, and adaptability in communication. By the end of this stage, Leo was capable of dynamic, creative, and analytical thinking in both individual and collaborative settings. English had become a tool not just for communication, but for exploration, reflection, and innovation. As Leo reflected on his journey, he realized that thinking like a genius is less about innate talent and more about cultivating habits, strategies, and mindset. Observation, questioning, creativity, focus, interdisciplinary knowledge, mental models, and collaboration had transformed the way he approached problems, ideas, and communication. He understood that genius-level thinking requires continuous curiosity, critical analysis, and the courage to experiment and make mistakes. Each challenge became an opportunity to expand understanding and refine both thought and expression. By practicing these techniques in English, Leo simultaneously strengthened his fluency, vocabulary, and ability to convey complex ideas with clarity. Leo also realized that thinking like a genius is a lifestyle. He integrated active reflection, interdisciplinary learning, and collaboration into daily life. Speaking or writing in English about what he observed, learned, or imagined made his thinking visible and concrete. Over time, expressing ideas in English became instinctive, allowing him to communicate confidently, persuasively, and creatively. Mistakes and feedback were not setbacks but tools for growth. By embracing them, Leo developed resilience, adaptability, and the ability to view challenges from multiple perspectives. Using mental models, analogies, and frameworks helped him navigate complex situations efficiently and innovatively, while collaborative learning introduced him to new ideas and approaches he might not have discovered alone. Ultimately, Leo learned that thinking like a genius is inseparable from living intentionally, observing deeply, asking insightful questions, connecting ideas creatively, and applying knowledge actively. English became not just a language but a tool for exploring, reasoning, and expressing thoughts at a high level. In conclusion, Leo's story demonstrates that anyone can cultivate genius-level thinking through curiosity, discipline, creativity, and active engagement. By integrating these strategies into daily life and using English to articulate ideas, learners can develop sharper minds, deeper understanding, and fluent, confident communication. Thinking like a genius is a journey of continuous growth, and by living it every day, you can transform the way you learn, solve problems, and express yourself in English.